Hello, welcome back to my Flosstube channel. My name is Phoebe. This is Moonshine Stitchery because my last name is Moon. And if you've been with me for a while, you know why I used the word moonshine. It's a reference to my nail polish brand. It was just an easy way to come up with a name the day I was deciding to make a channel. So today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the things that I stitched on in the last couple weeks and my plans, things I'm excited about. So if you enjoy cross stitch, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Sometimes I talk about crochet, sometimes I talk about needlepoint. Today is just cross stitch. I've been working on my fall and Halloween projects quite a bit, but I do have my progress to share with you on my Back to School Sal, which is a brand new large sampler that I started at the beginning of September, and now that we're in October, I've concluded my stitching on it every day for the whole month, so I'll share with you where I got to. I want to thank you for being here today. I really appreciate you joining me, and for those of you who have subscribed and comment on this video, I really appreciate that. I love to interact with you and find out what you've been stitching on. You can always leave that in the comments. I love to know, and what you've been reading. I will also be talking about what I've been reading at the end of the video as well, because I do like to listen to audiobooks a lot while I am stitching. Either that or some other things I do when I'm stitching. I like to watch reality TV, and I might be watching a show with my husband, things like that, or a show with my kids. My older daughter loves to watch a show right now called My Hero Academia, and although I would not personally pick it myself, it is something that she likes to watch with me, so that's good for me because that means I get to spend some time with her and we have a lot of laughs. So that's what we're going to do today. I don't have any finishes to share with you, so we're going to jump right into my whips or my works in progress. And I'm going to start with my one strand a day project for the month of September. So ever since hearing about this on SarahsStitchySpot, hi Sarah, hope you're having a good day. I have been doing one strand a day stitching, or excuse me, 2 strands a day. One that would take a really long time to get anything done, but I learned about this method from her where it helps her get things out of her whip basket that she wants to get consistent progress on. So before I started my new Back to School project on September 1st, I was stitching on Mirabilia Garden Prelude, which I'm going to show you some more progress on today. So I basically pick my oldest whip and then I stitch on it till it's done. I do 2 strands of floss a day and I get a considerable amount of progress on it. But in September for Back to School and for Sampler September, I was stitching on a new sampler. So this is Mary Bars from the Primitive Hare. It goes about that long, and I said Primitive Hare, but I meant Stacy Nash. I don't know. Well, I do have some Primitive Hare to share with you today. I don't know why that came out though. Okay, so here are my flosses. These are all things that I chose from Stash with the exception of Schneckly. I have 3 skeins of Schneckly in there because that's not Schneckly, that's Havana. But Schneckly is the entire border. So the border is all done. It did not, to be honest with you, exactly meet up because I did just follow the same exact pattern all the way across so that it was like totally symmetrical. And I noticed after I got 3 sides done that the top was not going to be like that, but because of the way that I stitched everything all around, I knew that it wasn't going to exactly match up anyway if the designer or the original stitcher hadn't made it exact. So I just didn't really worry about it because I knew that I could fudge it at the end, and you really can't tell. You really can't tell. I made it just a little bit more symmetrical than the original design. That's all I did. So it may be off by like a square or 2, but I looked at the design here at the end of the first alphabet and made it match up with that, and then I'm gonna go off of that. So as I'm stitching the inside, I'm always gonna go off of this side, which I know is correct, the first side that I did, or the alphabet or whatever's coming right above it, and I won't go off of the other sides of the border, and that'll help me make sure not to mess up again. However, this is a large sampler and there's quite a bit of like wiggle room space between things. So even if I did go off of the border, I think it would be okay. But anyway, I know that kind of relaxed attitude about placement of things can drive some people up the wall. But it doesn't really bother me because I'm just stitching to have fun, and with a project like this, it's not like a full coverage where I really have to be careful where I'm putting everything. I can make it fit. So I finished the border in September, and then I went in on this first row, and I love stitching alphabets, so this was a great place for me to go. And then I went right below it with the next shade under the alphabet. That color that I used, the design originally calls for a color that is quite close to this shade that I dyed this fabric, which is a very warm rosy brown. Very warm. It's like, it's rose, but it's more brown than rose. So anyway, I thought that this alphabet wouldn't really show up. So I'm using Gumnut from Cottage Garden Threads. And if you are interested in the rest of my conversion, which is just based off the DMC, you may certainly have that. Just leave me a comment, or you can message me on Instagram and I will get you that full conversion if you want it. So highly recommend this sampler. I love it. It's gorgeous. It's gonna take me forever, but that's okay. I don't care, because for me, it's the joy of the stitching each day rather than, you know, having the finishes under my belt. Finishes are still really fun. But yeah, I dyed this piece of fabric when I was at Heidi's house, when I went to our own little friends stitchy retreat just with each other at Heidi's house. And I just had the best time ever. And we dyed this piece of fabric together and it was awesome. So this project will go on my whip wheel. I don't know when it will come out next since I'm fully in fall stitching, but I don't intend to let it languish for too long. So we'll just see. So since it is not September anymore, I am now back to my 2 strands a day stitching that I've been doing for a few months now. And I'm hoping to get my first Mirabilia done. This also happens to be my oldest whip. So this is Garden Prelude from Mirabilia. And for the past few months, actually ever since I made this my 2 strands a day, I think it was just a month before I switched over to Mirabars. I had decided I want to work on the dress for a while till it gets a lot more filled out. So a lot of that dress has been since making this my 2 strands a day. I feel like I had, you know, this back bend she's doing right here. I had that in with the kind of what's looking like tiger stripes to me in the viewfinder. And then, you know, all this greenery I had done before. Oh yeah, that's right. I worked on her skin. I did the 1 strand stitching on her skin, and then I did the violin. That's right. That was like the first month. And then I have been working on the dress. So in the last 6 days, I have kind of been building here down, I think. So this project is so fun, even though I'm just stitching it on natural, it's like natural white chalk, whatever the call for 32 count is. It's still really fun because the colors of this project are so beautiful. I love them. We have plenty of purples, yellows, blues, and greens, which are my favorite shades. So I just really love her. So I'm very happy to be back to stitching her 2 strands a day. So I don't know if I ever described that super clearly, but basically I find a spot on my pattern that I want to stitch, and then I pull out a strand. In this case, it's 2 strands because I'm stitching this 2 over 2, which I forgot to say, Mirabars is a 40 count, and that's 1 strand of floss over 2 linen threads. So this is 2 over 2. So I pull out, let's say 958. DMC 958 is this really beautiful, deeper shade of kind of turquoise. Pulling out 2 strands of that. I don't have them be very long. They're like this long because I really hate having my threads knotting up on me. And then I'll put that in till the end of it, and then I'll pick another strand or color. Maybe I'll continue working with that, put that full one in, and then that's all I'll stitch on it that day. And it's usually the first stitching that I do out of the day. I usually don't stitch on anything before noon. I work until noon and then, you know, maybe take a little break for lunch, maybe stitch a little bit. But for the most part, I'm not stitching until the evening. That's just how my days go. So that is my, not my new 2 strands a day, but I'm revisiting back to it. So I'm just gonna jump around a little bit and pull from my whip basket, not in any particular order. So I said I was doing a lot of fall stitching, but I actually stitched on 2 wintry pieces this last 2 weeks. And this one was the most recent one I did because I just got really, really excited. So I had some Happy Mail recently from Shelly. I'm gonna put her Flosstube name here, or her Instagram. But she had reached out to me on Instagram and asked if I would like her Owl Forest embroidery flosses for my red Cardinal project. And firstly, I was just flabbergasted because that was so, so generous. So this will probably look very similar to you from the last time you saw it, but I'm gonna put up on the screen here what it looked like the last time you saw this, because I took a couple days, 2 or 3, and I pulled out all of the stitches in the original flosses and put in the new flosses that Shelly sent me. I highly recommend and have greatly learned my lesson that I like the Owl Forest embroidery projects with their flosses. I don't think I'd ever do another Owl Forest without getting their flosses. They're highly impactful, they're beautifully variegated, and I was basing my conversion, I don't even know. This was maybe one of the first things I converted, and I did it with Dinky Dye silks. And my conversion is much more cool toned, and I think it especially made me not enjoy it because this historic green from Fabric and Flare is a very warm, springy kind of green. So it was clashing with the colors that I was using. I didn't convert them in person, like I didn't pull them from stash and put them on the fabric. I just totally kitted up online, and so I didn't see I was just looking at what they looked like online, and when they arrived, while they were very beautiful and they were lovely to stitch with, they were not the right colors. So I am so grateful. Thank you again, Shelly. Doesn't it look pretty? I love it so much, and I'm so thrilled with this now. I just absolutely can't wait till the next time I pull it out, which is really different than how I've been feeling the last few times it's come out. So, yes, a huge thanks again to Shelly for saving my whip, because she said she knew she was never gonna stitch it. So I'm so grateful, thank you. I think this must be how they come, because they have a number on there, but I couldn't see how that number corresponds to the pattern. So it was really awesome because Shelly had put these symbols on there, if you can see, in the corners, so that I can know for sure which floss goes to which symbol. So, aren't these pretty, these flosses? They're so variegated. So, thank you, thank you, thank you, and I'm very, very excited for this to come out again. So I'm stitching this on this 40 count Fabric and Flare, so that means I'm doing 1 strand over 2 linen threads. And yeah, I think that's everything about that. Oh, no, there is one more thing. So I did not pull out the white because the white is just a white Dinky Dye, and the white in the flosses that Shelly sent me just looks also just white. So I thought, I'll save my time and leave that in. I also didn't pull out the gray. I haven't decided yet whether I need to, but everything else is changed. So, like I said, I'm just pulling from the bin. So the next thing that I have to share with you is another Fabric and Flare fabric called Dried Petal. This is what I'm stitching my Blackberry house from Plum Street on. I love the color of this fabric so much. It's a really soft mauve shade. So what did I do this time? Let's see, what did I do? I believe I put in pretty much this whole big leaf. I filled in this guy. I finished up a lot of these little berries. I was doing some more in this stem, just a little bit. And I think that was mostly it. So I stitch on this on the 30th of every month. Again, this is Plum Street. This is a 40 count fabric and flare. It doesn't want to lay flat. Let me go like that. 40 count fabric and flare. I'm using all of the called for flosses, which are absolutely gorgeous. I love Plum Street's floss choices. And, oh, there's a hair. And yeah, it's just really, really nice. So I'm using 1 strand over 2. And like I said, I stitch on this on the 30th of every month because my daughter's birthday is the 30th. And so I like to stitch on it on her birth date of the month. So that's why you see this so much. But here's my progress. I'm getting a lot closer to being done. So I really love this one. I guess we'll do fall stitching later because this project that I just grabbed is the one I said I was going to get out on the 25th of the month for my winter / Christmassy stitching. I stitch on something of that kind of theme on the 25th of every month. So this is Winter Rose Manor from With Thy Needle and Thread. I'm so excited for when this one's going to be done. I'm just going to love having this up on my wall. And wouldn't it be wonderful if I got it done by winter? That's not going to happen. Let's be realistic. I have this whole huge house to do. I'm stitching this on 32 count, so it's going to be large. This is a Lugana that I over dyed with this wintry blue color, and I love it. Actually, it's maybe a little bit warmer than a wintry blue, but you know. So I'm using, again, all of the called for flosses, even conch for the house because of my background fabric. And what did I do this time? Oh yeah, I worked on the bottom. So I put in all of these little trees all the way across, whoop, and then I put in this fence. I started in on the fence, and I believe some of that's new as well. So I'm stitching this with just 1 strand over 2 on 32 count, which is my preferred way to do anymore. So anything that's not quite an older whip will always be 1 strand if I can help it. And yeah, I just love this one. I love it so much. It's such a fun stitch. There's a reason why everybody stitches this patterns, because it's just so beautiful. So love, love, love. Just got to kind of fill out that middle part and then we'll be good to go. I was looking at this and trying to remember the designer name, and I almost just said from Abby Lee Miller. That's another show that my daughter likes to watch. Okay, this is the other project that I drew with you guys last week for me to work on. This is for Where Your Treasure Lies from Abby Rose Designs, and it's just so precious. I love it. So I'm stitching this on 32 count, so it is going to be quite large. This is a piece of printed, let me see what it's called. This is Smoky White from Zweigart. So it's like vintage country mocha, but it's this white with some grayed brown printing on there. I'm using the called for flosses, I think. Yes, and I'm doing 1 strand over 2 on 32 count. So another one, again, like Winter Rose Manor, and I really love it like this. The level of coverage is just great for me. And it's such a fun design to stitch. Let me grab that needle out of there before I forget. I'm gonna pop it in my end of my sweater here, because I'm gonna be putting this one away for a little while till it gets rolled again. But it's going to be huge. I think it's maybe meant to be a little bit more like a cute little pillow, but since I'm stitching on 32 count, I will probably end up framing it. So I really like it, and I like this fabric. The color of it's so nice. So this time I was doing the wording here, and what else was I doing? I think, oh yeah, I did a few more of these alphabets, and then I might have put these 2 things in. I don't remember. But I've only gotten this out like 3 times since I started it. It was one of my New Year's Eve 12 by 12, so I'm making pretty good time on it. I find that I can stitch rather quickly on a large count. But yeah. So if you haven't tried anything from this designer yet, I am really enjoying it. I have one more whip that was for a specific day of the month, and that is my Artful Offerings Americana Sailboat. So if you remember the last time this came out, the last 4th of the month, I had started working in this boat, and I was talking about how I was really starting to love this project a lot more now that I'd like kind of grounded it. I could kind of see a little bit more where I was going here. So I finished filling out that whole boat. Honestly, guys, I was watching a movie with my husband when I was stitching on this, and it took me like 2 whole hours to just fill in this boat. That feels like a long time. It was a long movie, but yeah. And then before we finished the movie, I had a little bit more I could do, so I put in the top of this anchor. But yeah, it takes a long time to do fill-in, and it's very mindless stitching because you're just doing the same thing over and over. You literally don't have to read your pattern, but just the number of stitches just takes so long. So here's where my Americana Sailboat is for now. And you will see this again in another couple videos when I bring this out again on November 5th. So this is, what is this piece of fabric? Oh, this is one that I dyed, this color of green. And then I think I was kind of aiming for that historic green color from Fabric and Flare. And this is a 40 count, so I'm stitching 1 over 2 on 40 count. Do you guys have trouble biting the inside of your cheek? I bite mine a lot. I think it's my nice chubby cheeks. I'm not mad about them. That's just one of the features of my face. But sometimes I will just bite the inside of my cheek so hard, and then the next day, like maybe while I'm sleeping, I will aggravate it way more. And today I'm waking up and I feel like I'm not even talking normal because the inside of my mouth is all out of whack. You know what I mean? Okay, to the fall stitching. I actually only have 3 fall pieces. So you had a lot more. Oh, another needle. That's good. Let's pull that out here. I'm making a pin cushion out of my edge of my sweater. Okay, and yes, it is sweater weather. I was stitching on my porch this morning and it was freezing cold. My toes were freezing. Okay, last time we rolled that I should get right back out my autumn cloche from Hello from Liz Matthews. I had just been stitching on it the session before, the 2 weeks before. So I was pleased to get it back out again because I was like, yeah, I'm not done. I need to do a little bit more on that. So I'm stitching this with the called for MPIs, and let's see. Honestly, the 2 different stitchy weeks kind of bled together for me, so I don't really remember exactly what I did, but I got, as you can see, very close to filling in this red pumpkin, which I now know that I love red pumpkins. These are fun. Do you feel like lately, the last maybe 10 years, there are a huge variety of pumpkins, shapes, colors, textures than there were when we were kids? Like, there's been a boom of crazy interesting pumpkins at like the grocery store, for example. So anyway, I have definitely noticed that. Okay, so then between the 2 sessions, basically, I worked on this whole pumpkin, this mushroom, and then this beautiful orange pumpkin with the burnt orange outlining. I don't think I did any, but, well, no, I did do some butterflies. We worked on these ones. I don't remember if it was this time or last time though. So this is 40 count flax, Zweigart, just plain. And so I still have quite a bit to go, but I don't know if I will pull this back out again this fall. We'll have to see. I do have still a lot more fall projects that I want to touch. And this already got 2 stitchy sessions, so you can't be greedy, Autumn Cloche. I need to spend some time with my other autumn bays. So we'll see. So I'm saving my whip of the week for the very end. That means like my favorite whip that I stitched on in the last 2 weeks. But this one I had a lot of fun with too. So this is my scary sampler from Heartstring Samplery, and it's definitely on my most interesting fabric probably. And I dyed a piece of, I think this is like the same fabric that my Mirabilia is on, because it dyed very differently than Zweigart, I will just have to say. Anyway, okay, so previous to this stitchy session, none of this was here. I was talking about, I think the last time that I stitched this, how this pattern is really cool but the whole top half is very repetitive. So I determined that the next time I got this out, I needed to stitch down from the pterodactyls. If you're not familiar with this piece, it's so fun because it's a scary sampler, first of all, so perfect for this time of year, especially if you like to celebrate Halloween. But the whole piece is filled with pop culture references. So that's like Jurassic Park, and then we have this Stranger Things up here. I just love Beth Twist. She's so clever. I love how her mind works. This whole scene was so fun to work on. I've mentioned before I like alphabets. This is the Death Star. So, and then we have like aliens in here among the demigorgons. But anyway, so then this is where I was this time. So I worked on, there's gonna be this huge willow tree, which I feel like is the Whomping Willow from Harry Potter. And then we have, I think this one is supposed to be a Doctor Who reference, which I haven't actually seen that, don't get mad at me. But we have these gravestones down here, and that's where I was working. So the Whomping Willow is so beautiful to stitch on because it's that Gentle Arts moss, I think. And I love all the flosses. I'm using all the called for flosses, and I'm loving it. So I'm very excited about my progress on this one. Again, this is another big count, so I'm doing 1 strand over 2 on this 32 count. And so I feel like I can kind of zoom. Like, I feel like I got a lot done. So it's just easier to see and I go a lot quicker. Even though I like 40 count because this is going to take it's going to need a huge frame, a huge piece. So we shall see, but I'm really loving it right now. And because I have popped myself down here, this willow I feel like is going to just be this huge amount of space here. I like being able to look at my project while you're looking at it. So maybe I'll start filming all of my videos like this. I'm just kidding. It's like I'm a teacher for class when I'm like this and I can't see what anyway. So that whole willow is gonna go in, and then the whole big creepy house is over here. So very, very excited with my progress on this one. And this one definitely will come out again before this fall and Halloween is over, because I got really pumped about what I got in on it this time. So we are here at the end, which means I'm gonna talk about my whip of the week. And this one will also come out again because I loved it so much. So speaking of Primitive Hare, this is a spooky countdown from Primitive Hare. And I love this. So I saw this originally on Olivia from Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, her channel, and she and Katie from So Tattered, they are both stitching this, I believe. So anyway, I fell in love with it on Olivia's channel, and she has it all finished and everything. So I haven't watched, I think, her most recent video, but I wonder if she has this up. Anyway, Primitive Hare, so I did the Halloween This Way by them, which I love that project as well. She is really kind of a queen at picking a few colors and making a great statement with them. So as you can see, there's not a huge variety of colors. We keep it primitive, but it's so, so fun. Okay, so this is gonna say spooky countdown. I've only done the one half of the top, but I got so invested in these little motifs that I just had to switch over to them. So the last time you saw this, these 4 were done. So basically this much of it was done. So I have put a little bit more into the bordering there, but mostly I did these 5 and a tad motifs. So we have this little black pumpkin, which I also now know I love black pumpkins. So we've got a black pumpkin, and you can't hardly see, but there is some green in there. And then we have Nevermore, and we have the gate there. This is Fragrant Cloves. I'm using, I'll show you my conversion in just a minute. So she mostly has DMCs in there, and I popped in a few more things. Not for the black. The black, I'm just using DMC 310, and it's making it so easy because it's a lot of black. So then this one we have some potion bottles and bats. This one is this weird like little rat guy or something. What do you guys think that is? It is a squirrel? Is it a rat? What is it? I don't know, but he has a moon. And then this whole one is just this beautiful big witch's hat, and it's gonna have some more of these like little accenty stars on it. But I love that when she designed this, she only has the numbers for the calendar in a few of the squares. So we've got a 2, and then we come down again to the 11, and then we have a 17. But she didn't bother herself with the restriction of having to have everything numbered. These are all going to be outlined in back stitching, but I haven't done that part yet. It's going to look a lot more striking when I do. But there's also the option of doing these as separate little pieces that you would put in a tray for display. I decided I didn't want that finishing hassle, even though it looks so cute. I didn't want to do it that way, so I'm just doing it all in one. So this is a piece of 40 count that I over dyed. Thinking about offering this specific dye on my website right now for fall because it is very fall friendly. We have these beautiful rusty oranges, and then we have some kind of sunsetty yellow oranges going on in here. Anyway, so this is 40 count. I'm using 1 strand over 2. And oh, what's on my nails today? This is a thermal polish from my brand Moonshine Mani. It goes from like a maroon to a soft blue, and it's glowing with gold to red shimmer. Anyway, that's what's on my nails. And yeah, whip of the week. This was my favorite. I loved stitching on it so much. So that one wins the top spot. I think I will start doing that with each episode because I always have my faves that I was stitching on. Okay, so I don't have any haul. I did have that happy mail from Shelly, but no haul this time, so I am going to talk to you about plans. As you know, if you've been with me here on my channel, I love to stitch on specific things on certain days because it helps me get out the projects and get like more consistent progress on them, like my 2 strands a day. So you will of course see a lot more progress on Mirabilia because I'm going to stitch on it every day for the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow is the 7th. Actually, that's probably when this is going up, but I'll be stitching on my seaside stitches, and that looks like this. And it is my birthday stitch because my birthday is the 7th of August. So every month I get it out on the 7th. It has a lot of specialty stitches, so it makes it really, really fun. And you build out from the center. That's how Jeanette Douglas, she includes like a set of actions to accomplish. What's the other way to say that? Instructions. She just puts instructions on there. Anyway, so I love to just follow it, and it just makes it really fun, and I learn new stitches as I'm going. So I'll be stitching on that on the 7th. On the 10th, I'm going to stitch on my Pretty Little London, which is, I feel like, close enough to finish it that I could finish it this time. So like I will be stitching on Halloween on the 13th, but if I stitched on Pretty Little London from the 10th, 11th, and 12th, I think that it would be done. So we'll see how I'm feeling, whether I want to do that. I do have Pretty Little Paris lined up for the next one to stitch on. So yeah, we'll see what we do. I don't have Paris kitted up yet though, or know what I want to stitch it on, but I'll probably stitch it on Ada, just like I did Pretty Little Hawaii and Pretty Little London. Okay, so on the 13th, I will stitch on something Halloween-y. I'm gonna get out my Halloween Quaker on the 13th. That will not be done in time for Halloween this year. Although, you know, maybe if I stitched on it every day for October, not maybe, definitely if I just exclusively stitched on that, it would be done. I love that project so much. It's kind of sad to have the projects done, you know? So anyway, that will be on the 13th, and then the whole rest of that week, I don't have any specific day stitching. So I will be stitching on a lot more fall again, like I said last time. I do have a project, 2 projects that I will pick randomly with you right now. It helps me get projects, just pull things randomly that I might not stitch on. And it just helps for me just with the variety so I don't get bored of things. So here is my Mania 2024. These are the 24 projects I worked on in May. And most of them are carryovers from last year. And so whoops, with this app I can generate a project between 1 and 24. 18, that is going to be Bethlehem. So this project by Imaginating Bethlehem, it looks like that will come out definitely at some point in the next 2 weeks. And I'm using a sulky thread on that, just one color instead of black. I decided to go with navy blue, and I'm really enjoying that project. It is a little bit thicker, but I think it's turning out great. So basically the coverage is going to be stronger than what I usually do, but I like it. And it shouldn't take too much longer because it's a very thin, like this thin horizontal piece. And the last one that I will definitely be working on, I'm going to pull from my whole whip wheel here. I loaded all my whips into this Tiny Decisions app. Paisley Pumpkin, which is perfect because it's fall. So it looks like this. It's from Rosewood Manor, so you'll definitely see progress on that one. And then the rest of the things I'm stitching on will most likely be fall or Halloween stitching. So that is all of the stitching that I have planned coming up. So I am looking forward to stitching on those things. I would love to hear in the comments, like I said, what you have been loving. Tell me your stitch of the week. That would be so wonderful. I'm now going to talk some about books. Like I said, I like to listen to audiobook while I am working or while I am stitching. So I'm going to do that now. So if you're not interested in hearing about books, then I will see you back in 2 weeks. I hope you have a great stitchy time till then. And now let's talk about books. So in my last catch up with the books, I was doing a lot of rereads series with friend and my brother. This time I read more books that were new to me. So I go to my Audible profile, and then you can go to listen history, and it will show you what you listened to. So I read a few mysteries this time that were pretty good. I hit some winners. But before I started listening to those, I read one romance book. This one had been on my TBR for a long time. It's called Before I Let Go. This one, I give it like a 3 out of 5 spice level. So if you don't want any spice, this one will not be the one for you. This is a second chance romance. Basically, it's about this divorced couple. They still own a business together. They have 2 children. But it's romance, but it's also about grief. It's about mental health. This really big thing happened in their life, and the 2 people in this relationship dealt with that in 2 very different ways, and they ended up getting a divorce. And so this book is the second chance of if they can come together, if they can heal, all these different things. And I would say, like, I was thinking it was like a 1 spice until you got to a certain point, and then that was like all it was about for a little bit, and then I was like, okay. But I did really like this book. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. I loved the author. I loved the narrator. This girl, she has 2 close girlfriends who are fun and funny, and the second chance romance of a couple who have already been married and have children together was really tender. So if that sounds good to you, like I said, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was great. 4 out of 5 for me is like, I recommend it. Do I plan to read it again really soon? Probably not. So yeah, I really did enjoy that. So I don't remember who recommended it to me, but thank you so much, because it was a beautiful, sweet read. So after that, I read the 3 mysteries that I was talking about. Actually, I read 4, it looks like. Yeah. So I read Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier, and I really enjoy her mystery writing style. I feel like she does a great job. She's maybe slightly more predictable than the person I'm going to talk about next, but it was really good. So Jar of Hearts, you start out with this woman. She is on trial for a part that she took in a murder of her high school friend from like 15 years before. And it's finally, she's finally going to trial because she's like fessed up to what she had to do with being there on the scene, kind of thing. And so then the first part of the book is she is in jail. She's in prison, but she wasn't actually charged with murder. So she's only in prison for like 5 years or something. A little bit, it's about prison. And then we jump into when she got released. But as soon as she's released, we find out that the actual murderer is a serial killer, and he has escaped from prison. So then it turns into, and this is like in the first hour or something of the book, so I don't really think I'm giving out too many spoilers here. Then the rest of the book is like, okay, now how is she going to avoid being the next victim of this, but then you're getting all this backstory about why what happened, and she doesn't ever tell you till the very end what the role is that she played in the original murder. So I think that one is maybe like a 1 spice. It's not too, it's been a minute since I read it, but it's not, nothing really stuck with me about anything spicy, but more it's about the mystery. So yes, I think I gave that one another 4 out of 5. I did really like that, but the next one I read by her, I liked even better. So just the content matter was more interesting to me. Okay, so then right after that, I switched authors and I read Local Woman Missing, which was a recommendation from one of you. This is by Mary Kubica, and this was really good. There was a kidnapping, there were murders that were happening. You were jumping back and forth between all these different perspectives. And I think one of the reasons that this book gets such high reviews is the twists are pretty good, in the fact that like I didn't predict who the killer was going to be at all, like in no way. So that was great. It had great writing, it had great pacing. I don't really want to give away anything about this book. You just gotta, if you like mysteries, I definitely recommend this one. I think I gave it like almost a 3.5. It was good. I would read it again. So then after that, I went back to Jennifer Hillier and I read Little Secrets. These were all buddy reads with some friends that like to read mysteries. And Little Secrets is by the same author of Jar of Hearts. And this one, I remember, I'm trying to think what this one was about. Oh yeah, this one's about another kidnapping, but then there's all of this intrigue, and then you're finding out about the history behind all these people and how it's like interwoven and what their little secrets are, which are actually kind of big secrets, and all this kind of crazy stuff. I also did not, so this author went to this place where she said a few things that really made me be like, okay, and it gave away who the killer was going to be about an hour before it was revealed. But before that, I didn't guess it at all. So I did really like this one. I thought the narrator was better on this one than the first, the Jar of Hearts. So I liked that a little bit better. But yeah, take your pick of the two of them because they're both pretty great. Then I read another book that was recommended called The Leftover Woman by Jen Kwok, or I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. And this is about a Chinese woman who escapes to America to try to find her child that her husband, so she was like a child bride basically, her husband had told her that her baby daughter had been killed, and but actually he put her up for adoption because of the one child rule in China, and he wanted to have a son. So he basically, this poor woman, she kept having miscarriages, and then she had a child die as far as she knew, and then she found out what he did and his terrible betrayal, so she escaped to America to go try to find this child. That is one half of the story. That is the half of the story that is very interesting. The second half of the story is the point of view of the mother, the adoptive mother of this child. So you're getting both of the mother's viewpoints all the time. There's a good amount of mystery and intrigue, and it's fun, but the mother, I think she lives in New York. She's a wealthy working woman. She seemingly has this like perfect life. I mean, there are things that are going wrong for her per se, but she was just so hard to relate to that whenever I was in her storyline, I just wanted to be back in the other storyline. So that was a definite detractor for me from this book. Just the whole story from the Chinese woman was so much more compelling. So that, especially because in contrast, you're just like, oh, I cannot find empathy for this other woman very much at all. In my perspective, I feel like that could have been a little bit better written to keep me intrigued in both sides of the story a little bit longer. I did think it had a nice ending, but it was just like a little bit like, So I think I gave that one more like a 3. Like I said, if you want to read it, at least half of the book I feel like was very interesting. So if that all sounds like a fun time to you, that's Local Women, or The Leftover Woman. And that brings us fully till now. I'm about to start Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, but I haven't started yet, so we can talk about that next time. So that's everything I've been reading / I've been watching a lot of TV lately because fall TV started. So yeah, that happened. That's going to be it for today. I really appreciate you joining me. I hope that you have so much stitchy time in the next 2 weeks. I hope that you are safe and well, and your friends and family are as well, and you are finding some peace and comfort in your stitching. I will see you back very soon. Take care until then. Okay, bye.